So, hey, you guys, I'm excited to let you guys see this interview with my student Grant. He's been a student of mine for a very long time, actually, and he's actually been on the channel once before. You can check out his previous interview, it's on the channel somewhere. So, just wanted to record a separate intro for this just to lay sort of the groundwork. It's a very open interview. We don't actually share a whole lot of strategies or tactic. It's more so just his experience and sort of the mindset he's going at it with, which really to me is the most important thing because you can learn the strategies and the tactics through the internet. There's tons of people teaching it. I have my program that I sell that can actually teach you every strategy and tactic you really need. But it's the mindset really that it comes down to, and Grant has a really good one, and we'll be working together in the future, me and Grant, on some other projects, so I'm just excited to have him on the channel. So thank you, Grant, if you're watching this. Excited to have you here once again, and if you've never watched an interview of one of my students before, they're very special, they're very down to earth. So I can't wait for you to get your hands on this video. So watch it all the way through, take notes, get a pen and a piece of paper. That's how I like to do these things. So excited, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the end of the video.
Don't get it confused, don't get it confused. Yeah. I'm in tune, I'm in tune.
Hi everybody, here with my student Grant. Super proud of this guy. Honored to have him on the phone. Love seeing the successes that he's going through. We're having a conversation off camera just now about the struggles of what he's going through and like the hardships of like getting to the point where he's at. And even just because in the e-commerce sea, he's just a little drop. In order to get to where he's at with that drop, there's struggle, right? And it's an incredible thing to get to hear about because I think what I want my audience to understand is it's not easy. I think a lot of people sell you on the ease of it. I don't really want to do that. So I want to highlight Grant for two reasons. One, he's seeing success and he's seeing sales and he's seeing revenue. And two, he's actually he's got character in the way that he comes at his business and in the way that he handles the stress that comes with it. So Grant, go ahead and introduce yourself, talk about where you're at, talk about where you've been, and then sort of the journey since our previous interview.
Definitely. So if you guys didn't watch the last video, I'm one of Trey's students, and we had an interview when I hit about 3K a week it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that was maybe 3 months ago. Mostly about the time where my summer was fulfilled in. So during summer, it was nice. I was able to get focused, and I had this vision of what I really wanted to do. I could see this 3K a week turn into something more a month.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to take off with that vision. So I was, waking up every day, not really doing a whole lot of partying or fun stuff. Because I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to school in college, and I'm going to have some fun. And, I'm going to say, hey, I did some cool things this summer. I didn't have to have a typical 9-to-5 restaurant job or whatever it was. So, I went through the summer, and I really worked on building a routine. So I really wanted to work on waking up, understanding that I had things to do, and kind of mapping out my day. And I wanted to follow that as much as I can. Because before, I kind of wake up, be inconsistent, wasn't too sure what I was going to do. Then at night you get stressed, and I try to do all of it. So a big part of that was setting a routine, if that makes sense. So I'd want to wake up and do emails or whatever else it was.
Yeah.
And I think it was this is like almost 8 months ago, I hit $100 a day just randomly. But it was when I hit that $100 a day, I knew that 3K a week, 20K a month weren't completely impossible anymore.
Right.
And I think that's the same for a lot of higher numbers I could reach, 100K a week, whatever. I see these huge numbers getting made. But it's kind of the struggle and the hustle in between there, because it's not that it's easy money, but sitting behind your laptop doing 80 hours of work, I would prefer that, over 40 hours of being a janitor.
Completely.
But there's so many janitors trying to make a decent living and working their butts off. So people get that misconception that, not everyone wants to be where you are. It's easy. There's definitely an abundance of money, but I don't think there's an abundance of you have to be yourself in the dropshipping space. If you try to go out there and copy someone else, there's going to be 1,000 imitators, and no one's going to want to buy you or buy your company, your brand, or really selling your idea. So when you can start doubling down on what you really want to do and what you want to be, then you can just go wake up every day, worry about, credit card issues, supplier issues, money problems, or whatever it is, because you understand, hey, this isn't going to be easy to get 100K, 200K, or 10K, or 5K in a month or whatever. So I think honestly, since things we last talked changed the most, I've just been me really trying to become focused and understand this is more of a real job and a career if I want it to be. So if I had days where I worked all day or I didn't want to wake up and do emails, I would just look outside and I see people guarding right now, and they're probably working harder than I've worked in last few months, and they're making, I don't know, but not a whole bunch of money. So it's really the mindset that I think for me stayed the same. but it was just the hustle and like the physical stuff where I'd be up more. I'd be trying to spend
right.
more money, doing more testing, and always learning. So I don't think that changed at all. But
Right.
for the most part, I would say that's what's different now.
That's the biggest difference. Yeah. Biggest difference between where you were and where you are now. And it's interesting too, a lot of people assume that it's like a technical thing that's a major difference, but reality is it's really not. 80-90% of the time when I get on the phone with a student who's done well, it's like there's something that has changed in them, or there's a new recognition of what they're capable of that is sort of like shifted. And, there's some technical elements to that, like, better targeting with your ads or whatever, and a better understanding of Facebook or a better understanding of e-commerce in general. But, like, reality is, I feel like more than 90% of the time I'll get on the phone with a student and I'll be like, well, you were here, now you are here. What's the difference? And they're like, well, I just started working harder and I started recognizing the opportunity that's out there and I just pursued it better and smarter. And it's just like, duh, like it really comes down to like people who recognize how much opportunity there is and are willing to be creative in pursuing it,
Exactly.
And so, a lot of people dream of being where you're at with $20,000 in sales a month, right? And whether it's consistent or not, it's okay. But you hit $20,000 in a single month, and I think I probably used it in the thumbnail. I'm assuming I'll use it in the thumbnail, assuming I'll include a screenshot or whatever. So, with that being said, like, what do you want to say to somebody who is getting started, who sees you as like where they want to be in e-commerce? Because there will be people watching this video that are like, man, that's where I want to be.
I feel it, bro. I remember dreaming of the days where I would hit over 300 in days or over 500 or whatever it was. And I think, I even talk to people now that want to say, oh, I want to start a store up. Help me do this. What do I do? And maybe they'll be like, oh, I want to try a store that does this or that. And I feel like the biggest thing I hear is people are trying to, when you start up your store, a lot of times you're telling the market what they want to buy. And that's going to be either a lot more expensive or a lot harder to do than listening to the market. If you can get into a market and just start selling stuff that you know is going to do well, you can really tell what the market wants based on what people are saying to you directly from Facebook or emailing, or that they're searching for a product, if they're buying a certain product. And a lot of that is just responding to the market. If you get too emotional about products we talked about last time, that's the same thing with this, right? If you aren't able to listen to your market, they're like, hey, we want to buy stickers from you. We want to buy lamp-shaped stickers. And you're like, no, I only sell lamp-shaped shirts.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going to have a little bit more. You still selling the shirts, but you have a whole opportunity that you miss out on. So I think what people do now is they say, oh, I see this opportunity. This is on, AliExpress. It's trending or whatever. That's cool, but no one's asking for that product until you figure out, like what. That's what I'm saying. I like getting into niche markets because you can really understand the market a lot better.
Right.
Whether you follow people on Instagram, and you can get the whole feel of the community and what's shifting and not. So for me, it was just starting, like really learning from 0 to 100 about like what makes a good ad, what makes a good store, what sort of products sell on the e-commerce space in terms of dropshipping. Because not everything is going to be able to sell on dropshipping because I could just go to Target and get it for cheaper. So it's finding all that stuff. And when you have this all set up, and you're learning and learning, maybe you're making 100 a day, 200 a day. I feel like the next step that I wish I would have taken sooner was understanding the market, saying, hey, these people are in favor of this, or that, and keep testing, because the ones who test the most obviously win. I've heard that from thousands of people. But it's so true when you find products that you feel like can bring value to other people's lives, whether it's, buy this shirt, we'll donate 5 meals to a kid after, buy this lamp and it'll help your baby sleep at night. It's really saying, hey, what can I do for you? Otherwise, it's just, taking someone to a site and saying, oh, 4 payments of $29.39, you can afford this water bottle or whatever.
Yeah, completely.
So it's really trying to come out as a service. You know what I'm saying?
Completely. And I think it's an interesting thing that you touched on in psychology there. And, first, there's a couple things that you said there that I really want to point out. And one is, following the marketplace as opposed to following like what you think the marketplace wants. There's an analogy that I was given by somebody that I was learning from. And he was like, there's 2 things you can do. If let's say you're dating a girl, let's say her name's Angie, right? And Angie wants lunch. She wants lunch. She's hungry. You don't know what she wants though. So you can do one of 2 things. One, you can, take your retirement savings and go pay 30, 40 different consultants $1,000 a piece and try and dig into her psychology and learn what Angie thinks and how she breathes and how she functions and, her history. Or you can just freaking ask Angie what she wants. you know? And it's like, it was such an interesting concept because it's like, that's exactly what you're doing in e-commerce is, you know, you're looking at a niche, you're looking at a market, you're saying, okay, you know, does this work? No, cut it. Does this work? No, cut it. Does this work? Yes, a little bit. Let's leave it. And then 5 or 6 tries later, you find one that works really well and you leave it and you continue it and you scale it because the market's going to tell you, you're not going to be able to tell the market. Very rarely are you going to be able to, especially with dropshipping, are you going to be able to create a desire in the market's head. You have to meet the desires that are sort of already there, you know, and whether it's just for tiny little trinkets or if it's for something like a movement, like they're passionate about, you know, seals and some of the money goes to like something to help seal or whatever, you know, like you're tapping into a need that they already have. You can't create a need in them. And so I think a lot of people assume that their passion project will take off if they just market it right. Reality is it just won't. Until you have an audience already established and then you can slowly shift them into that mindset and into that belief, you have to just go with what the market wants right now. And if you just, because the money's in the boring. Like money is made in the boring crap. Like the mundane, stupid, completely irrelevant stuff that you don't want to spend any time doing, that's where the money's made. Because the market needs it, right? And because nobody else is willing to do it. So if you're willing to sell little mini trinkets that you don't give 2 rips about in order to create profit, then, you know, you'll be better off than most students that I've worked with where they are so sure that their store is going to work. But the reality is the market doesn't need another pair of like Nike looking shoes. You know, like what it needs is a specific niche needs a specific product from you. You can provide that.
Exactly. And I think, you know, taking into consideration websites and professionalism, a lot of people will kind of almost undervalue their stores in Shopify. They'll get the most basic themes and maybe 2 pages up, and then they assume like, oh, I'm good now. I just do the ads and stuff. And, you know, I'm not saying that you have to have a perfect website about your marketing, but I always like to look at higher, you know, my competitors and what their websites are like, or even Fashion Nova, right? One of the biggest e-commerce stores, and really kind of look at what these other people are doing that make a bunch of money and how you can model it to yourself, right? How you can form it like, hey, this would fit in with my business if we did something like this, because you're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. You're trying to draw inspiration from people who probably spend more money than you have on testing and, you know, developers and coders and all that. So it's being smarter rather than, you know, working harder. So I think the same thing is for the marketplace. You don't have to go try to find the new in-demand products, but you have to see what products people really want. And I think that's a lot easier when you can test it and really weigh out your options rather than going and paying $40,000 to figure out what your girl wants for lunch. You just go ask her because she's going to tell you. Yeah, right. There's no need to overcomplicate the process of asking, you know. And I feel like that's what a lot of people get really stuck in is the assumption game. You know, I think that's why Grant's where he's at is because he's willing to play the ask game, and the ask game is really boring for a lot of people. They'd rather not play the ask game, you know, because business is never about you. Even in drop shipping, it's not about your profit. It's about the market getting what it wants, and then profit's a secondary to that, you know? And so even in a business model as easily manipulated and can be as scammy as drop shipping, you know, some people don't even know if their product's arriving at the freaking door. It's still about the market, you know, and it's still about finding what they want. And if you can create an audience around like, okay, I found this little niche need. I'm going to be the only one selling this niche need. I'm just going to be the best freaking seller of this random product that apparently has a big demand. You partner with a supplier, you wholesale some of it. Maybe you get into the private label world, which is actually what I'm hoping to talk about with Grant after our interview, right? And as he moves forward, he can get closer to his revenue. He can get closer to the money through specializing even further. So like if he sees that the product's working, there's nothing stopping you from ordering it, starting a brand. Actually, locally here, I have a warehouse that I'll use, and my grandma actually runs her Amazon business out of it. And I don't know if you know this, Grant, but my grandma's a 6-figure Amazon seller, and we have these like brands roll through the warehouse, and they use it for all kinds of stuff. And so like that is specialization, is they figure out, okay, this one product's doing really well, so we're gonna like scale it, and not just in Facebook, but in terms of our closeness to the product too, you know. And so like all this to say, I think people really overestimate or underestimate the power of discovering like a niche, like vein in humanity that like goes unserved, you know. And that's really where I think a lot of people make most of their money. I think people just go for the artery. They try to go for the biggest piece of the cake, and then they realize they can't do that. And by that time, they're usually discouraged or bankrupt. So
yeah,
it's really just trying to start where you can.
Yeah, completely. you got to be humble enough to sell some random freaking, like, it's not
You
about
do,
you.
bro. You do. You can't
Yeah.
start selling cars right off your website.
Yeah,
Day one.
right. Exactly. Like, people are so focused on like instantly selling things that they think are cool. That's another thing too, is because I think most of the people watching this video are super beginner level. And like, if there's one thing I want to communicate, it's Grant's not afraid of selling cool products. He just sells what works, and all my successful students do. Grant's a
So
specific
true.
one that I've had on the channel because I've been able to watch his success over a long period of time. But literally all of my students are like willing to sell the most random crap because they know that it's not about them, it's about what the market wants and providing it. And so it's a frustrating thing for me when people are like they create another site and it's like another freaking like fashion site, and it's like, how on earth are you gonna, like, what's your marketing plan? Like, I'm gonna just straight up
Dude,
dish fashion sites real quick, because it's like, unless you're
do it.
specializing in a specific niche for your brand, like a specific type of person with a specific type of passion or problem that you're solving with your fashion brand, nobody needs another pair of shoes, bro. Like, it's just not how the world
Straight
works.
up. Straight up.
Yeah, man.
That's the truth, though.
Yeah, it's true. So tell me, so you've already said like what you'd say to the beginner. What would you say to like someone? Actually, no, backing up. Not even that. I want you to share what you share with me off screen about, just sort of, you don't have to go in detail. I know we're on film here, but, just share sort of how it's been as you've progressed. I know there's some things that you've been through, and like, it's been more of an emotional journey for you as well, like especially recently. So just, if as comfortable as you are, go ahead and share that.
So, when you do prioritize certain things and you have daily routines and goals, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of things that you would normally be doing. And for me, that included a lot of fun stuff and socially. But I knew that it'd be worth the risk, right? I said, keep my head down. Everything's going to be worth it. But just recently with some of the, I was coming back to college. My roommate, he left, so I had to pick up a lot of slack in the contract for rent, and it's nothing super cheap either here. And it was just, I didn't have a job this summer either, so having my expenses come into ecom and that being paid as well. Not a frivolous person, but I don't mind going out once a week with like a friend to go get Starbucks, whatnot.
Right.
And it was really for me trying to find the balance between, hey, I'm happy, I'm just doing my own thing in my room grinding, versus, hey, I'm out every weekend partying, I'm part of the world, I'm normal again. Right. And I've always kind of had that battle in my head where I've always tried to never conform to anyone, but I've always tried to find my own tribe. I think that gets amplified when you start sacrificing things, because you understand that it's real. Like, if you don't trust who you are and like in your head, you're just gonna have negative thoughts and you're gonna be, torn up every day. So you really have to be your biggest cheerleader, and you have to be your biggest investment, and you have to always risk yourself the most. And
you just have to recognize like how screwed up the world is, and how people see it so completely wrong. Like, if the world were the way it needs to be, all kids our age would be working as hard unless if not harder than us. Now is not the time to party and hang out. It's really not. It's like the worst time for it.
People ask me all the time, like, let's go party, let's go do something. I'm like, what are we celebrating? Like, it's Friday. I'm like, what'd you do? They're like, bro, I finished class. And I'm like, dude, oh my God. Every person though.
I know.
It's fine, but to them, I guess it is fine if they want to have that.
It's like every single action you make right now, like, expands into future. Like, every single action is a seed planted that is harvested later, whether you like it or not. And like, we're planting good seeds and harvesting them later. Planting bad seeds, you'll harvest those later as well. And it'll be a rotten tree with rotten fruit. And it's like, I'm not saying you don't go out and have fun with your friends. I'm not saying no. Like, what I am saying is, if you're not planting good seeds right now, you're not going to harvest any good fruit later. It's like, right now we have time as our biggest asset, and to plant a seed, like, the biggest factor in the growth of a plant or a tree is time, right? And if we plant seeds now, we'll have massive trees by the end of our lives. Whereas if we start planting when we're 40, those trees are going to be significantly smaller, And so I feel like, people waste their time planting some seeds that, like, they don't realize they're planting seeds, is what I'm saying. They don't realize they're planting negative, like, seeds in their thought process and in their social relationships, And so I think what Grant's done really well with is, like, cutting out, like, the bull crap, and, like, making sure he just focuses on, like, what he knows is, like, purely revenue generating. I don't think there's anything wrong with, especially at our stage, I think there's everything right with focusing on making money right now. Like, it's just like, it's what you should be doing, you know? And so I just want to honor Grant and like his mindset in that way. It's been really, really cool to watch the journey.
Thank you, man. I appreciate everything you've done. So
no worries, dude.
I love deceiving. That's so true. But I think a misconception is people expect to sacrifice a weekend or two, and then they think the next week they're going to be on a yacht or something.
Yeah, right.
That's one of the hardest things is to, like sit out a few weeks or weekends and times and nights and not really seeing the rewards right away, if ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's about taking the risk and the opportunity to put yourself in there and get lucky, hopefully. But I'm probably going to get a lot luckier
it's
than
so
people
not
like,
completely. And it's just like, I think people are so obsessed with quick, like satisfaction and reward.
Oh yeah, one-day shipping, bro. You got that one-day money.
Right. It's crazy, dude. And so it's like I even sat down with recently, and this is getting a little off topic from like specifically drop shipping, but I don't care. That's like how it needs to be.
Yeah.
You know, drop shipping is like a financial vehicle. At the end of the day, we're talking about a financial vehicle. We're not talking about, drop shipping, period. And so it's like, to me, one of the biggest things that I've learned recently, I actually sat down with my CPA. This is coming out in a vlog soon. I made my first vlog ever, which is kind of cool.
Hey,
but I sat down and it's pretty cool. So I talked about the investments I want to make. And like, I talked about like my CPA sat me down and actually did the math on a bunch of investments I want to make. And like, we mapped out if things go horribly wrong, like literally things go stupid wrong. And Grant, you could do this too. If you need any help on this, just let me know. But like, there's certain investments you can make where they'll compound over a long period of time, right? Like index funds or whatever. Basically what I'm saying is if you use your money right, it grows. Just like if you use your opportunity right, it grows. By the time I'm 50, at the rate that my money's growing, even if things go horribly wrong, I'll have like $5 million in the bank, just sitting there waiting for me to tap into, right? And anybody can do that. Like if you're making any more than like $2,000 a month profit from your business, or even just working a job, you can be doing this, especially at like our age. So it's like plant good seeds and reap them in the future. Why spend time right now pretending like you planted good seeds and you're harvesting them? Like none of the trees that you're picking from right now are seeds that you planted. Plant your own seeds first, and then go reap the good doings of your own later. That way you have full control over it,
So true, dude.
But yeah, dude. So I think it's been a good interview. Is there anything else you want to say? Like anything else you want to leave us with, sort of?
I guess another struggle I had too when I went from where I was before 3K a week to now was FOMO, was fear of missing out. And I've always kind of had that as like a kid, low key. I've always worried, never like, oh, I want the best opportunity, but I was always worried like, oh, what am I doing now? Like, is this the best thing to be doing for myself?
Yeah.
I think recently with social media, the influence of that has just grown exponentially. You see people hitting higher numbers. You see people having more fun, doing better things, learning different things.
Right.
And it's so hard not to say, oh, shoot, I'm doing it wrong. Look at this guy. What do I have to go remap? And what am I missing out on? And he's going to get ahead of me. And it's hard because you don't see what chapter people are on. And I think when I started, especially, I was trying to compare my chapter 1 to this kid's chapter 20 or whatever it was. And I think Gary Vee even said, like, F FOMO, dude. Like, doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Like, you stay in your own head and, like, you have that tunnel vision to push you through to the end. And if you believe in it enough and you know it's going to work, man, you're probably going to be better off than without that. So I would just say try to forget FOMO as much as you can. If people are going to have fun on Saturday nights and Sundays, but 2-3 years, you could be looking down on a private jet flying over the city.
Dude. So, laughing all the way to the bank, really.
Exactly, bro.
I mean, seriously. And it's like, it's not a selfish thing to say that. It's like you worked for the things that you deserve. You will never have any more or less than you deserve in life, right?
So true. People expect way more than they think. So.
Completely. And so, it's for me, it's like the biggest issue. I had FOMO when I was first going to, and if anybody's struggling with that, I think I'll end on this. If anybody's struggling with that, just know that if you continue on the pace that you're at, you attract the types of people that you are, right? And so I've been in this game for like the digital entrepreneurship game maybe about a year, but the entrepreneurship game as a whole ever since I was like a kid. And like early high school, I was like super isolated because of it, because nobody gets it, right? But as I sort of went on, I started to make more and more connections, and I became more and more valuable of a like person in other people's lives through my journey. And then I started attracting people who not only supported me, but were in better places than me. And that happens when you forget the fear of missing out. Because reality is, fear of missing out is just fear of missing out on somebody's life that's completely irrelevant to you. And so it's totally irrational. Like their life is completely irrelevant to you. It's never going to impact you. And yet here you are, like, boiling over the fact that, you will never be a part of it. Like you don't even know them half the time, And so it's like, just make your own life that you're like, be afraid of missing out on your own potential. That's really what I think people need to be afraid of. Not fear of like not meeting the potential that other people have, but fear of not like being as good as you possibly can be. So there you go.
Exactly.
It's so fun. I love these dropshipping interviews because they're never like, it's never like, yeah, if you launch this ad and do this product, it's just like, yeah, it's all stuff you can like study on your own time. I feel like, you know, like go learn the technical stuff, go invest in a program.
There's like
you know,
30 guys making YouTube videos about it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like for me,
You know.
I want to brand myself like, look, it's about the mindset. You know, I've never met somebody, no matter the financial vehicle that they hop on, who doesn't think in abundance and who doesn't think in opportunity. You know, no matter what niche they're in or what financial vehicle they're on. That's ultimately the conversation that anybody has is opportunity mindset and abundance mindset. So cool, man. It's a good call.
Awesome.
So I hope you enjoyed the interview with my student Grant. If you are interested in the program that I sell on dropshipping, the link is in the description for the sales page as well. There's some free training. It should be the top link in the description. Just some free stuff that you can learn from me with. It's a class online that you can tune in and watch. So hope you enjoyed it. Once again, if you did, subscribe and like the video if I brought you any value, and I'll see you in the next one.